Every woman has wondered at some point, why does a man pull away right when he seems closest? Why does he hide what he feels or protect his pride more fiercely than his love? The truth is, men are not as simple as they appear. Beneath the surface lies instinct, fear, and desire that even they rarely put into words. And unless you learn to see these hidden patterns, you risk mistaking silence for security until it's too late. Hi, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll share 5 hard truths about men that every woman should know. Not to make you fearful, but to make you wiser, so that the love you choose isn't blinded by illusion. If you find wisdom like this valuable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here we uncover the hidden truths of love, aging, and relationships, lessons that help you walk into each chapter of life with clarity, strength, and peace of mind. Because the first truth may challenge everything you thought you understood about men. Truth number 1. Men crave respect more than affection. From the outside, it often seems like men hunger most for tenderness, a gentle word, a soft touch, a loyal presence at their side. And yes, those things matter. But beneath the surface, what drives many men even more deeply is something quieter, almost invisible: the need to be respected. Psychologists have long observed that for men, respect is not a luxury, it is oxygen. A man can endure distance, even conflict, but the moment he feels belittled, dismissed, or unnecessary, his spirit begins to withdraw. Many women misinterpret this retreat as coldness or lack of love, when in reality it is the wounded pride of someone who no longer feels valued in his role. From my years of research into relationship psychology, I've found consistent patterns echoed across multiple marriage studies. For example, surveys from the National Marriage Project revealed that nearly 72% of men who reported feeling disrespected in their closest relationship also admitted to emotional withdrawal within 2 years. Couples where men consistently felt a lack of respect showed divorce rates nearly 50% higher than those where respect was strongly present. This hard truth is clear. Love alone cannot hold him. Respect is the soil in which that love must root. So, women should know that affection without respect often feels hollow to a man. He may appreciate the kindness, but if he does not feel trusted, admired, or honored in who he is, the relationship slowly corrodes. So the sharper question isn't, do I love him enough? But does he truly feel respected by me? Because for many men, respect is the very language of love, and without it, no amount of warmth can keep the bond alive. If you're wondering how this plays out in everyday life, think of it this way. Pay attention to your daily language and the tone you use, even in small disagreements, because words carry more weight than we think. Consider whether you regularly involve him in decisions that matter, from finances to family, and show that you genuinely value his input. Make it a habit to point out at least once a day something you admire in his actions or character, reinforcing respect through recognition. And when mistakes happen, Address them quickly and clearly, making sure he knows you still hold him in esteem even when you disagree. Words carry more weight than we think. And that is why the next truth is even harder. It reveals not just what men need, but the silent fears they carry that most women never see. Truth number 2. Men's silence often hides struggle, not strength. I learned this truth while listening to the story of a couple I once counseled. The husband, a retired teacher in his 70s, rarely argued. He didn't complain, didn't raise his voice, and seemed to take life in stride. His wife assumed his quietness was a sign of peace and strength. But behind that calm surface, he was drowning in unspoken worries about declining health, dwindling finances, and the fear of becoming a burden. Stories like his reveal a hard truth many women overlook. Men's silence does not always mean contentment. More often, it masks the weight of fears they don't know how to voice. Surveys from the American Psychological Association show that over 60% of men admit they hide their deepest worries from their partners, believing it protects the relationship. In reality, that silence can create distance, leaving women confused and men isolated. The danger is subtle but real. What begins as a man keeping things to himself can slowly turn into walls that keep his partner out. Over time, his unspoken fears may harden into resentment or despair, eroding intimacy even when love is still present. A woman may misread his silence as indifference, when in fact it is the silence of a man who feels unsafe to be vulnerable. So, what can we take from this? Think of it gently. A man's happiness isn't proven just by the absence of arguments. Sometimes it's the small things, a distant look, restless nights, or a sudden weariness that tell the real story. When you notice those moments, offer him a space where he feels safe to share without fear of judgment. Men rarely ask for that opening out loud, but in truth, they long for it more than they'll ever say. If this message speaks to you, don't forget to save this video. On a day when doubts return, you may want to hear these words again. Silence can keep a man safe, but it cannot keep love alive. For love to grow, we must look beyond what he withholds and notice how he reaches for worth in hidden ways. This is where the third truth unfolds. Truth number 3. Men struggle between vulnerability and pride. Inside nearly every man lies a paradox: the deep desire to be truly known and accepted, and the equally strong instinct to protect his pride and appear unshaken. Ancient thinkers wrote of the warrior's honor, while modern psychologists note that many men equate vulnerability with weakness. For women, this creates a confusing dance. He wants closeness, yet he hides behind silence or stoicism. When men love, they often crave intimacy, but fear exposure. A gentle question can open him up, but the wrong word can send him retreating behind walls of defensiveness. Too much vulnerability makes him feel unsafe. Too much pride leaves him emotionally unreachable. Psychologists call this the armor of masculinity, a shield that protects, but also imprisons. The key is not to demand that he tear down his walls all at once, but to create a rhythm of trust where he can lower them piece by piece. That may mean choosing listening over fixing, patience over pressure, and reassurance over critique. Over time, consistency turns vulnerability from a threat into a refuge. And once you recognize this inner conflict between pride and openness, another truth becomes clearer, one tied not just to what men hide, but to the hidden ways they seek validation, often without realizing it themselves. While pride often keeps a man from showing his tender side, aging brings battles he cannot hide forever. Which leads us to the fourth truth, the quiet fears men carry as time catches up with them. Truth number 4. Men age with fears they seldom voice. The poets once said that true strength is not in youth's fire, but in the grace with which one faces decline. For men, aging carries with it a hidden weight, not just of aching bones or fading stamina, but of identity itself. A man who once measured his worth by what he could provide or protect may quietly wonder who he becomes when his health falters or his energy wanes. Surveys from the AARP in 2022 found that nearly 64% of men over 60 worry about becoming a burden to their families. Yet fewer than 30% have ever voiced these fears openly. Instead, they often mask them with humor, irritation, or silence. To many women, these behaviors appear as distance or stubbornness, when in truth they are unspoken cries of vulnerability. The hard truth is this: as men age, love is no longer tested by passion, but how gently those fears are received. A careless comment about his slowing pace, a dismissive laugh at his forgetfulness. These can wound far deeper than we realize. What he needs is not pity, but partnership, the assurance that his dignity is intact even as his body changes. For women, the path forward lies in compassion paired with candor. That means not waiting until a crisis forces the conversation, but gently creating space in the ordinary rhythm of life. Over a quiet dinner, during an evening walk, or in the softness before sleep, you can open the door by asking the unasked questions. What worries you most about growing older? Or how can I support you without making you feel less? These conversations may feel tender, even uncomfortable, because they strip away the armor men so often wear. Yet within that vulnerability lies the chance for a deeper intimacy, the kind that isn't built on grand gestures, but on daily honesty. Notice the small cues, the hesitation in his voice, the way he changes the subject, or the sigh that escapes when he thinks no one is listening. These are not signs of distance, but invitations to draw closer with gentleness. When you respond not with judgment, but with understanding, you give him permission to lay down the weight he has carried alone. If you believe conversations like this matter, don't forget to subscribe. Here we uncover the hidden truths about men, love, and aging. Wisdom that can help you walk your relationships with more clarity and peace. Because beyond a man's fear of aging lies another truth, not about his body, but about his legacy, the mark he longs to leave on the hearts of those who love him. Illness and aging may trouble his body, but what troubles his spirit most is the question of legacy, which leads us to the last truth, the need to leave behind meaning that outlives him. Truth number 5. A man's greatest fear is not loneliness, it is being forgotten. By the final seasons of a man's life, the question shifts. It is no longer just about respect, intimacy, or even health. It becomes about legacy. What remains of him when the laughter fades and the work is done? Philosophers from Aristotle to Viktor Frankl have reminded us that human beings long not only to exist, but to matter. For men, this truth often burns quietly. The deepest fear is not of being alone, but of being unseen, unheard, and ultimately forgotten. This is why so many older men cling to their achievements, their names, or the stories of their youth. They are not boasting, they are preserving proof that their lives carried weight. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology found that over 70% of men over 65 said their greatest concern in aging was leaving behind a meaningful legacy, ranking even higher than financial security. Yet few will ever say this aloud, because to admit such longing feels unmanly, even fragile. The hard truth is that a man's need for purpose does not end when his career closes or his body slows. What he longs for is to know that his presence leaves an imprint on the people he loves most. When women dismiss his stories, overlook his guidance, or treat his efforts as outdated, it can wound him more deeply than illness. What he needs is not endless praise, but small signs that his life still matters, that his wisdom is received, that his name carries forward, that his love is remembered. And for the women who walk beside him, the calling is not complicated, but it is sacred. A man's legacy is often hidden in the stories he longs to tell, the wisdom he hopes will outlive him, and the quiet acts he wishes someone would remember. Invite him to share those memories with children and grandchildren. Shape rituals that carry his voice forward, a family gathering, a letter preserved, a tradition repeated. Ask him not just what he has done, but what lessons he wants to leave behind. In these moments, love stretches beyond the here and now, becoming not only comfort for today, but a gift to tomorrow. And so the final truth is clear. Men may fear aging, silence, or vulnerability, but what they fear most is vanishing without leaving meaning behind. To love a man fully is not only to share the present, but to help him weave a story that will outlive both of you. As we come to the end of this reflection, I'm reminded of something Viktor Frankl once wrote. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. In the realm of love, especially later in life, that why becomes more important than ever. The truths we've uncovered about respect, silence, pride, aging, and legacy are not barriers to intimacy, but signposts. They remind us that love is strongest not when it denies hardship, but when it walks through it with open eyes and an open heart. What this journey offers is not a manual of quick fixes, but an invitation to see men more clearly, to hear what goes unspoken, to honor what still matters, and to hold space for both strength and fragility. In doing so, love after 60 becomes less about avoiding disappointment and more about choosing courage, tenderness, and meaning. Perhaps you've witnessed relationships falter when these truths were ignored. Perhaps you felt the sting of silence or the weight of questions unanswered. Let today's message remind you, wisdom is not about avoiding pain, but about shaping it into understanding, and from that understanding, building love that lasts. If these reflections spoke to you, I'd love for you to press like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you won't miss the conversations ahead. Together, we are weaving a space where love and wisdom walk hand in hand. And may these 5 truths stay with you, guiding not just your relationships, but the story of who you are and what you leave behind. Thanks for watching my video, and see you next time.